Any points from last week?
The modes of materialization.
We just spoke about
Navida Bhakti. Okay. Yes. Mandaram Dasim Sakhi. Okay.
And he explained it so beautifully, he simplified it to the core. Anyone can do it. It's not that it's rocket science. Just having a submissive attitude and one can. And it's not. I asked him about how because he comes from a corporate life, and then he's so immersed in services. It's like
Right.
extreme now.
Right.
How do you balance? So he said it's not about balance. It's about your decision that you make. You decide and you go ahead.
Right. Okay, great. Any other points? You were not there, but you heard online.
I like the point where he was saying that he gave this example, saying that when he wanted his job and go to rich, so he prayed the Radha Rasbihari, saying that even if I don't deserve it, but if it's going to bring me closer to you, then please
Let me have it.
And even if I deserve it, and if it's going to take me away, then don't give me that job. So like it's unflinching, like faith and determination to serve rather than really.
The focus is clear.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Any other points?
Those who have surrendered into me can cross beyond.
Yes. The three modes of material nature are very, very difficult to cross. That's the previous class.
Yeah.
14th verse. But one who surrenders, takes shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna can easily cross. And what is the example given? For one who surrenders to Krishna, how easy it becomes for him to cross over the ocean of material science. What is the example given? You remember? The example is okay. Yeah. Go on. You're saying something. Acha. It's okay. How easy it is for somebody to cross over the material ocean of material existence, right? When one takes shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, how easy it becomes. There's an example given. Now the purports are being scanned. That's okay. You can do that.
I just wanted to ask you, whatever you think of material nature.
We'll discuss that. I know you're coming for the first time.
Yeah.
I know that. We'll discuss. So it's a question for others who attended the previous classes. Okay, so somebody Hindi, English? English is good?
Yeah.
Take it. So somebody who has taken shelter of, so Krishna is saying, Devi Esha Gunamayi, Mama Maya Duratyaya, right? Krishna is saying ki ye jo Maya hai, Maya Shakti hai, that's my energy. And it's very Duratyaya, very difficult to cross. Not very easy. So the example is given ki, हमको माया में डूबने के लिए कितना एफर्ट माया देवी को लगाना पड़ता है. राइट. सो चींटी देखी आपने? ठीक है. चींटी को डुबाने के लिए कितना पानी चाहिए? एक बूंद. मैं एक्चुअली करता था पागल जैसे बचपन में करता था, लाइक पुट ड्रॉप्स ऑन ants and I would love see them struggling. That was very bad of me, but yeah, so one drop is enough. And Maya is like an ocean. तो माया देवी को कितना एफर्ट डालना पड़ेगा हमको डुबाने के लिए? एक बूंद काफी है, राइट? कुछ नहीं, एक बूंद काफी है. But so it is so difficult for an ant to cross the ocean, correct? एक चींटी को ओशन के पार जाना कितना डिफिकल्ट है. But when somebody takes the shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, so the example is given, the entire ocean of material existence, जो पूरा भव सागर है, जिसको भव सागर हिंदी में बोलते हैं, right? That shrinks. कितना छोटा हो जाता है? To the size of the hoof print of a calf. गाय का जो बछड़ा रहता है, उसके पैर का निशान होता है ना जमीन पे, तो उसके अंदर जितना पानी आ सकता है उतना पानी, और आप उसके ऊपर आराम से चल के जा सकते हो. So it shrinks, becomes so small when you take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. So that's the example given. 3 modes. थोड़ा बड़ा टॉपिक है, but to give you a very very simple explanation right now so that you understand. So mode of goodness, first class behavior. Mode of passion, second class behavior. Mode of ignorance, third class behavior.
Similar to Sattva, Rajogun, and Tamogun.
Yes, perfect.
I attended 2-3 months session of Prabhuji Durga Prasad.
हाँ,
So there I learned something.
3 modes of material nature आपने सीख लिया, फिर सत्वगुण, रजोगुण और तमोगुण. बढ़िया, तो आपको पता है. अच्छी बात है. So let's start with today's verse 7.15. Namam duskritino mudha prapadyante naradhama maya aparita jnana asurim bhavam ashrita. Namam duskritino mudha prapadyante naradhama maya parita jnana asuram bhavam ashrita. Anyone would like to lead the chanting of the month, this shloka?
Namama dushkrinto mudaha
Namam duskritino mudha prapadyante naradhama maya aparita jnana asuram bhavam ashrita. Namam duskritino mudha prapadyante naradhama maya aparita jnana asuram bhavam ashrita. Namam duskritino mudha prapadyante naradhama maya aparita jnana asuram bhavam ashrita. माया के द्वारा अपहरण हो चुका है हमारे ज्ञान का. माया अपहरित ज्ञान. Right? Sorry, please go on. You were saying? Oh. Namam duskritino mudha prapadyante naradhama maya aparita jnana asuram bhavam ashrita. Namam duskritino mudha prapadyante naradhama maya aparita jnana asuram bhavam ashrita. Namam duskritino mudha prapadyante naradhama maya aparita jnana asuram bhavam ashrita. Okay, translation. Anyone like to read? Go ahead.
Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lowest amongst mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me.
So, Krishna in this chapter, what is the title of the chapter?
Absolute.
Yes. So, like we discussed earlier, पहले के जो 6 chapters है, they are focused on karma. The last 6 chapters are focused on jnana, and the cream is in between, bhakti. Right? So, भगवान भक्ति का शुरुआत कैसे करते हैं? By talking about himself. We saw in the previous verses, Krishna is describing how he is the taste of water, the sun and the moon are his 2 eyes, etc. Right? So भगवान अपने बारे में ज्ञान देना शुरू कर रहे हैं. He's trying to tell us about himself. जब भगवान के बारे में जानेंगे तभी तो हम भगवान से प्रेम कर पाएंगे. Right? तभी तो ऐसा डिवोशन जागेगा, वरना कैसे जागेगा? हरे कृष्ण. So और फिर भगवान अपने माया के बारे में बता रहे हैं, अपने बारे में बताया, फिर लोगों को लगेगा कि हाउ डू आई क्रॉस ओवर माया टू एक्चुअली गेट डेवलप अटैचमेंट टू कृष्णा. सो भगवान ने अपनी माया के बारे में बताया कि बहुत मुश्किल है पार करना, लेकिन सरेंडर एंड टू मी एंड यू विल बी इजीली एबल टू क्रॉस. अब भगवान बता रहे हैं कि कौन से 4 प्रकार के लोग हैं जो ये सब फैसिलिटी मिलने के बाद भी, क्या फैसिलिटी भगवान ने भगवद गीता का हमारे लिए क्या, राइट? एंड ही कंटिन्यूअसली सेंड्स सो मेनी डिवोटीज. ऐसा डिस्क्रिप्शन आता है, बृहद भागवतम करके एक बुक है, उसमें एक ऐसा डिस्क्रिप्शन आता है, जब गोप कुमार एक भक्त है, उनका स्टोरी है बृहद भागवतम में. सो व्हेन ही गोज टू वैकुंठा, जो वैकुंठ लोग जाते हैं, वैकुंठ जो है वो भौतिक जगत के पार दूसरी तरफ. सो वैकुंठ में जब जाते हैं, सो ही सीज कॉन्स्टेंटली देयर वर planes coming and going in and out of Vaikuntha, and they're going heading towards the material world and then coming back from the material world. Right? So constantly वहां पे, जैसे यहाँ पे टर्मिनल में प्लेन आता जाता रहता है, वहां का भी टर्मिनल से वहां पे आते जाते रहते. तो इस वंडरिंग, अरे ये आ जा रहे हैं. राइट? भगवान तो भगवद गीता में बोलते हैं कि someone who returns to my abode never comes back. But these are personalities who are already liberated. And ये लोग जाते हैं ताकि वहां से दूसरे लोग को लेके आ सके, भौतिक जगत से दूसरे लोग को वापस लेके आ सके. तो इसलिए they leave Vaikuntha to preach, for the service of preaching. Right? Srila Prabhupada is also coming directly from Golok, because he is here to preach. He is actually an Uttam Adhikari, for those who understand. आपको पता, मुझे पता है उत्तम अधिकारी को define करना पड़ेगा, but for those who understand, he is actually an Uttam Adhikari, but he comes to a level of Madhyama in order to preach. So in fact, Jananiwas Prabhu बता रहे थे कि मायापुर में प्रभुपाद आने वाले थे, ये 1970s की, early 70s की बात है. मायापुर में आने वाले थे प्रभुपाद, and Jananiwas Prabhu, he was learning the art of deity worship. In fact, Jananiwas Prabhu and Pankajangiri Prabhu, ये दो पुजारीज मायापुर के हैं, जो early days, मतलब शुरू, ये इसका नाम ये देखते बोल दिया, ये are our future pujaris, and they are actually known in the entire world right now, famous because they worship Narasimhadev. Pankajangiri Prabhu worship कर रहे थे, he left his body, but he was worshipping Narasimhadev in Mayapur, and Jananiwas Prabhu used to worship Radha Madhav and Panchtatva, Radha Madhav Ashtasakhi and Panchtatva. So Jananiwas Prabhu बता रहे थे कि प्रभुपाद एक बार मायापुर आ रहे थे, so वो सीख रहे थे deity worship, and बहुत जगह से पढ़ रहे थे. So he used to make rangolis. तो उन्होंने नया नया सीखा था गोलोक यंत्र. तो प्रभुपाद आने वाले उनको वेलकम करना है, so he drew with rangoli golok yantra, and he was like feeling very happy, and Prabhupada ke welcome ke liye be so nice. So he was thinking, will Prabhupada notice, will Prabhupada identify this as golok yantra, and will he, he was waiting for some reciprocation. So Prabhupada arrived. Normally Prabhupada आएंगे, चलेंगे, जाएंगे, सबसे पहले deities का दर्शन लेंगे, फिर बैठेंगे, भागवतम क्लास देंगे. तो ये एकदम कोर्टयार्ड में बना हुआ था. सो प्रभुपाद एंटर किए, एंड नीचे देखा भी नहीं प्रभुपाद ने, ऐसा प्रभुपाद हेड यूज्ड टू बी हेल्ड हाई. सो प्रभुपाद चले, और राइट इन द मिडल ऑफ दैट गोलोक यंत्र ही स्टूड, एंड ही स्टूड देयर फॉर गुड 5-10 minutes before entering. And he looked at Jananiwas Prabhu and smiled. So Jananiwas Prabhu was telling us actually in a private class that Prabhupada is from Golok. So हम एक पॉइंट क्यों बताया, भूल गया. So यहाँ पे डिस्कशन आ रहा है कि कौन ऐसे 4 प्रकार के लोग हैं जो इतना फैसिलिटी हमको मिला है, भगवान भागवत गीता दे के गए हैं, constantly Krishna sending devotees to reclaim us, for helping us to understand कि हम we don't belong here, हमें भौतिक जगत के नहीं है, we are aliens here, right? The body, matter belongs to material world, spirit soul belongs to spiritual world. So we are actually aliens in a incompatible situation, fish out of water, right? सो हम तड़प रहे हैं, हमको पता नहीं क्यों तड़प रहे हैं, हम ऐसा वो जैसे फिश ऐसे तड़फड़ाता है ना, तो हम ऐसा हो रहा है हमारे साथ में, राइट? बट वी आर नॉट एबल टू फिगर आउट कि क्यों हो रहा है. एक एग्जाम्पल मैं पहले भी दे चुका हूँ, सॉरी बट आई एम रिपीटिंग माई सेल्फ, इट्स वेरी रेलिवेंट. सो मधु बिंदु स्टोरी, राइट? यू हर्ड मधु बिंदु स्टोरी? You have not heard. Okay, good. ठीक है. So I guess only you remember.
Yeah.
So there was a king by the name Madhu Bindu, and उसने क्या किया, एक बार बहुत शराब पी लिया था. He was completely intoxicated, and then he actually fed that same liquor to his elephant. हाथी को भी शराब पिला लिया और हाथी के ऊपर चढ़ गया and he went जंगल में. So after some time, because of that liquor, the elephant intoxication, the elephant got mad. और उसने क्या किया, मधु बिंदु को अपने पीठ से उठाया और फेंक दिया, ट्रंक से पकड़ा, फेंक दिया. So वो एकदम बुरी तरह से आगे जाके गिरा, तो he came to his senses. And then the elephant started chasing मधु बिंदु. So this guy is now running for his life. किस तरह से तो बच जाऊं मैं, right? And the elephant full speed में पीछे भाग रहा है. So now, at a certain point, there is a cliff. And, elephant is behind, this guy is running in full speed and he jumps, he leaps. And वो cliff के एकदम edge पे एक झाड़ था जिसका एक branch ऐसा is hanging into the valley. So he catches hold of that branch, right? And now, he's hanging. So this elephant, he comes from behind. And Madhu Bindu is a little too far, cannot reach. So फिर भी elephant में तो पागल हो चुका है, गुस्सा है एकदम. So he starts pushing the tree. Very, very vehemently starting to push the tree. So अब ये बंदा सोच रहा है कि अरे मैं तो गया आज. I'm going to die. So he looks down, मतलब नीचे क्या है देख लेता हूँ पहले. So नीचे there was a dry well and there was a black cobra waiting for him. Already looking up. नीचे तो मतलब नीचे गिरूंगा तो मर जाऊंगा. And this elephant is constantly pushing. So there was a beehive right above the branch where he was hanging. So because of the pushing, the bees are disturbed now. So they come out and they start stinging this guy. And now he's in so much pain, right? And he's frustrated, like करूँ क्या अभी मैं? इधर से बाहर जाऊंगा तो हाथी छोड़ेगा नहीं, नीचे जाऊंगा तो कोबरा वेट कर रहा है, यहाँ पे रह नहीं सकता, बी स्टिंग कर रहे हैं, right? And he's in a terrible condition. Then he thinks कि जब तक ये ब्रांच है तब तक मैं जिंदा हूँ, right? ब्रांच टूटा मैं गया. So he said, let me at least see, इतना frustration में कुछ तो hope चाहिए आदमी को. Let me see how strong this branch is. So he looks at the end of the branch and there are two rats, one black, one white, chewing on the branch. बोला अब तो it's a matter of some time. मतलब imminent death पक्का है, right? So in all of this, right, in this miserable, pathetic condition, something happens. Few drops of honey from the beehive falls on his tongue, and this guy starts enjoying it. Wow, so nice. Aha, right? और जितना सिचुएशन था सब भूल जाते हैं. बीज फिर भी काट रही है, right? एलिफेंट फिर भी वो पेड़ हिला रहा है, but he is enjoying. And every 2 hours one drop comes. हर 2 घंटे में एक बूंद, right? And he thinks he is enjoying. So there are some people, some villagers nearby, valley में देखते हैं, अरे हाँ लटक गया ये आदमी, right? So they all rush up to him like, hey, what are you doing? Come, we'll save you. इस तरफ जंप मारो आप, हम आपको सेव करते हैं, सीडी वीडी लाते हैं, सब करते हैं. Come this side, we'll save you. Save? What save? Yeah, I'm enjoying here. Right? क्या save? अरे पागल है क्या? इधर आओ, जंप मारो. नहीं, I'm enjoying. So this Madhu Bindu is no one else but us. Right? अब बोलोगे हमारे पास तो हमारे पीछे तो हाथी पड़ा नहीं है मधुमक्खियां कहाँ काट रही है, right? So this elephant is nothing but our mind, which is constantly pushing us. Hey karo, wo karo, right? Do this, do that. Although the intelligence says, "No, this is not good," but still the mind will force, do this. And because of that pushing, there are daily problems, which are the bees, which are stinging us. Every day we go through some problem. The cobra waiting down in the well is death personified. And what else is there? Huh? Two rats are the white and the black rat are the day and the night, which are chewing on the lifespan, which is the branch. Right? So with every passing day and night, we are getting close to death. Right? Sorry?
What about honey?
Honey, yes, very nice question. So that honey is the little pleasure, or the idea of pleasure that we get. Right? 2 घंटे में एक drop. Right? पूरा दिन में मेहनत करके आते हैं हम लोग. How much happy in the कल कितना खुश हुए थे आप? सोच के बताइए. What was the time in the day that you were really happy yesterday? Just think about it. So we are struggling so hard, right? For what? एक अगर सिलाई मशीन है, ठीक है, उसको मैं रोज ऑयलिंग करता हूँ, उसको रोज ऐसा पैर से चलाता हूँ, जिनको पता होगा पैर से भी चलता है, राइट? लेकिन एक कपड़ा नहीं सीता हूँ, क्या फायदा हो मशीन का? एनी यूज? इट्स यूजलेस. जिसका पर्पस है वो उसको फुलफिल ही नहीं कर रहा है, खाली उसको ऑयलिंग कर रहे हैं हम रोज. तो जो हमारा मशीन है, Krishna says yantra runani maya, right? This is like a yantra, this body is like a yantra, and we are inside that yantra trying to control that yantra. This body is meant for a purpose. The purpose is self realization. We are not using it for that. हम उसको रोज ऑयलिंग कर रहे हैं, कुछ खिला रहे हैं, पिला रहे हैं, घुमा रहे हैं, राइट? एंड उसको चला रहे हैं, बट पर्पस के लिए यूज नहीं कर रहे हैं. इट्स अ वेस्ट. So the honey is that little happiness, right? And those people, those villagers who are trying to save us are the sadhus. Right? They're saying, "Hare, chant Hare Krishna, come this side." Right? Come to my temple, take darshan of Radha Raj Bihari Ji. But we're saying, "Hare, I'm happy. Hey, सबके लिए time नहीं मेरे पास." Think like that.
There's a picture, like there's a prior picture which depicts this scenario. Yeah.
In my college years, I have done fine arts. So I've done a composition of this painting and titled it also Madhubindu. But it's not like a regular, actual, like realistic. It was more of modern art types.
Yeah, I don't know if that's been circulated. Like, did you circulate that?
I don't know. I don't know what you have, but yeah. It was a realistic image that you.
No, it was like a comic image only.
Okay. Eyes, 2-3 sides.
Yeah, I guess. I don't remember exactly.
Wow. I don't know how my painting got so famous. Because I'm not showing it to anyone. It was on Facebook some years ago, but otherwise I'm not. Okay. Anyways.
I'll try to get it.
So yeah, so basically that's our situation. Screen share has stopped. So Krishna is here describing that itna sara facility milne ke baad bhi, right? Who are those 4 kinds of people who don't come to him? Itna bulane ke baad bhi there will be, like so many people got invitation. Please come to the Bhagavad Gita class, right? There are devotees who are actually standing down and doing some service in terms of, distributing cards, distributing pamphlets also, right? Inviting you. तुम आ जाओ, एक बार सुन लो आकर के, या एक बार प्रसाद खा लो, या दर्शन ले लो. There are 4 kinds of people who don't come, right? Who are those? So Krishna is saying, describing them. Namam dushkritino mudha. Dushkritino means miscreants, right? There are 4 types of these miscreants. Those miscreants, the first one, who are grossly foolish, right? Mudha, grossly foolish. Mudha ka example is like comparable to a donkey, right? Who are lowest amongst mankind. Naradhama. Adham means low. जो नरों में, जो human mankind में सबसे अधम है, lowest among mankind. Maya aparita jnana, whose knowledge has been stolen by Maya, illusion, right? Whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and Asurim Bhava Mashrita, who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, right? Asurim Bhavam Ashrita. Do not surrender unto me. So these four kinds of people do not surrender unto Krishna. Connection is not good. Oh, no, I'm just reading the comments now. Okay. Purport. It is said in Bhagavad Gita that simply by surrendering oneself unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality Krishna, one can surmount the stringent laws of material nature. At this point, a question arises. How is it that educated philosophers, scientists, businessmen, administrators, and all leaders of ordinary men do not surrender to the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, the all-powerful personality of Godhead? So you'll find scientists, they will challenge. Right? There are a lot of foolish scientists like that. There are a lot of other scientists who are actually, those who do genuine science, those who practice genuine science. They will have a conclusion that yes, there is God. Right? Like, who was that? Einstein and the other one, famous Newton.
There is a story of Abdul Kalam and the group of this atomic energy.
Sarabhai. Vikram Sarabhai. Correct. So Vikram Sarabhai ka story aisa hai ki one guy was, about new joining the ISRO, and he saw this person in ISRO reading Bhagavad Gita. Like, how backward you are reading Bhagavad Gita ISRO mein aakar ke, right? Don't you know ISRO abhi kahan se kahan chala gaya? He thought he's like a regular person also, like he new joining. Later he found out that was Vikram Sarabhai reading ISRO, and he said, reading Bhagavad Gita, and he said that, all this intelligence is coming from here to do whatever we've done so far. Anyways, so even Newton, he wrote his book of physics and mathematics. In the introduction of that book on mathematics, I forgot the name of the book. You can Google it, but he writes that I am giving so many mathematical laws just to help you understand that there is a lawmaker. Right? So he was actually someone who was, you can actually call him a devotee of the Lord. He did his science in 4 years. His entire science he did in 4 years. जब वो कॉलेज में गए थे, so the professor, he got up from his chair like, you belong here, I don't belong here. Right? मेरे को आपसे सीखना है. Literally, he just entered college. Tabhi that time he was not even so famous, but because of his schooling years itself, people knew what kind of person he is, and he had already started doing some of the experiments, etc. The professor got up and like, "आप बैठो यहाँ पे and सिखाओ." Right? So such a person, he did all his science, after in graduation, just 4 years. 4 साल में जितना law दिया है न्यूटन ने, 4 साल में दिया है. After that, he sat down to write 1 million words in praise of God. So, but there are some other scientists, right, who will challenge, who will argue. जो एक्चुअल साइंटिस्ट ने जो लिखा है उसी को उसके लॉ को पकड़ करके या उसका कुछ थियरी पकड़ करके people will start arguing and they'll try to prove there is no God. So so basically these kind of people are coming in these 4 categories. Atheistic class of men particularly, right? Asuram Bhavamashika. So Prabhupada is saying that why these kind of leaders, right, administrators, businessmen, scientists, they are not surrendering to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then he goes on to say, Mukti or liberation from the laws of material nature is sought by the leaders of mankind in different ways and with great plans and perseverance for great many years and births. But if liberation is possible by simply surrendering unto the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead, then why don't these intelligent and hardworking leaders adopt this simple method? The Gita answers this question very frankly. Those really learned leaders of society, like Lord Brahma, Shiva, Kapila, Kumara, Manu, Vyasa, Devala, Asita, Janaka, Prahlad, Bali, and later Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and many others who are faithful philosophers, politicians, educators, scientists, etc., surrender to the lotus feet of the Supreme Person, the all-powerful authority. Those who are not actually philosophers, scientists, educators, administrators, etc., but who pose themselves as such for material gain, do not accept the plan or path of the Supreme Lord. So, ये जो statement है, we can very easily understand in today's context. So, we just gave the example of Newton, right? Even Einstein used to read Bhagavad Gita. So, those are real seekers of truth. जिनको genuinely जानना है, how is this material world working? जिनको genuinely जानना है कि who is the cause behind all of this, right? They will have, some serious searching and discovery. And ultimately, in their discovery, maybe after 50 years, but they'll ultimately come to a conclusion that yes, there is God. There is something beyond the matter, right? Isliye antimatter वगैरह सब, theories in science is already there. But right now, what is happening? There is a race. There is a rat race to publish scientific, findings in scientific journals. They will do whatever research they want to do in 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 months, right? Maximum 3-6 months, right? और नया नया आपको publications आता रहेगा. Just on your health, if you study, there'll be at least 20-30,000 publications. Each publication will be cutting the other publication, right? One research is completely opposite to the other research. नया diet आता है, फिर थोड़े एक डाइट बोलते हैं कि अरे ये डाइट करो, सब ठीक हो जाएगा. फिर थोड़े टाइम बाद वो एक और पब्लिश होएगा, ये डाइट करोगे तो कैंसर हो जाएगा, ये डाइट करोगे तो malnutrition से मर जाओगे. Right? So it is, blind, thing happening just to make money, because all these different foundations, they're funding these people to do research. जितना मैं publication करूंगा उतना पैसा मिलेगा, right? So therefore they are not the real philosophers, not the real scientists, and therefore they are not surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah, they are part of these 4 categories. Atheistic, the scientists particularly fall in the atheistic category who deny the existence of God.
Someone could say they wasted years, they could have surrendered.
No, so there are genuine seekers who may not, have the fortune of having direct, like there was this one philosopher. क्या नाम था उसका? There was this German philosopher, I'm forgetting the name. It was very, very famous. And so Kritu Prabhu, he's a proper disciple. He was actually, him, Shyam Sundar Prabhu, and a few others, they were actually going out to different famous personalities. There's a book also, compilation. So all the philosophies of Western world, Shyam Sundar Prabhu would, say this person has this philosophy, and Prabhupada would immediately, discuss, try to find out, okay, what is the philosophy? Then they will give details ki ye philosophy hai. Say, for example, Aristotle said this, and this, or Socrates said this, and some scientists said this, like that. So Prabhupada would then, understand the philosophy and then give his perspective from, Krishna conscious perspective on that, right? Whether this is in line or it's not in line, or what is the defect, or what are some of the good points in that particular philosophy. So Prabhupada would have that discussion. And these few disciples, they would actually reach out to different famous personalities or philosophers themselves and, get them to meet Prabhupada. Like a Zen Buddhism wala aaya tha, one very famous person. So Prabhupada asked him, so what is your philosophy? So for 1 hour, this person, he started describing, different things about Zen Buddhism. And that guy was super famous in Europe at that point in time. He had huge following. So after he finished 1 hour, pura baat kar liya. So he said, so Prabhupada, what do you think? So Srila Prabhupada said, not very intelligent. That's it. And this guy was humble enough. Then he heard Prabhupada and he was very, very impressed. He paid obeisances and he left like that. I was actually going to tell about Kritu Prabhu. He went to one very remote place in some village in Germany. I don't know. So he knew there was this particular philosopher. He somehow figured, and it was like an 8-hour drive to a very, very remote place. So somehow he took that, and at night, late night, he reached. It was raining. It was a huge mansion in middle of nowhere, right? So he knocked at the door, and this old lady, she opens the door, and he says, "Ki, I'm looking for this particular philosopher. Does he live here?" So this lady says, "Oh, you're too late." So he's like, "Arey, kya ho gaya?" Like he's on his deathbed, marne hi wala hai, right? So you can please go back. Sorry. So he said, "Can I at least see him? Can I at least see him once?" So Prabhupada's mercy reached so many places like this, so many philosophers. So so there are people who are genuinely seeking truth but may not have the fortune to immediately come in association of devotees. It requires a lot of sukriti, honestly, to actually meet a devotee. But Srila Prabhupada still, through so many channels, created good fortune for people and, gave mercy like that. Yeah, but somebody who's having that fortune, still not utilizing that mercy and rejecting it, and nahi, main to apna hi scientific cheeze karunga. So that's unfortunate. Okay. So there are 12 Mahajans which are named here, like Brahma, Shiva, Kapila, Kumara, Manu, Vyas, Devala, Asita, Janaka, Prahlad, Bali. Right? These are actually Mahajanas. They're called Mahajanas. They are to be followed. Right? Followed in the sense that what they do, we should actually, or what they say, should actually try to follow in their footsteps. Somebody's knocking. Uh-huh.
There's a Sloka, right?
Yeah. Narada Shambhu Tatha. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, actually. Right? He's Supreme Personality of God, Krishna himself. Yeah. So he is the combination of Krishna and Srimati Radharani together. So he's the Supreme Lord, not just a Mahajan. Okay. So Prabhupada is saying they have no idea of God. Those who do not surrender to Krishna, or those who are not real philosophers, scientists, and educators, they have no idea of God. They simply manufacture their own worldly plans, consequently complicate the problems of material existence in their vain attempts to solve them. Right? Without understanding, scriptures, without understanding, or without even trying to understand who's God, how this world is working, etc. They're creating their own concepts or ideas. Ek theory ke baad dusra theory, ke baad tisra theory, right? In order to try to solve one problem, they're creating a bigger problem, right? Horse carriages ghumte the, like, arey, horse shit on street, so much pollution. गाड़ी ले आए, right? More subtle air pollution. क्या करें? अभी मास्क पहन के घूमना पड़ता है. दिल्ली में तो, क्या बोलते हैं, odd even system चालू हो गया. So simple problem को solve करने के लिए more complicated problem खड़ा कर दिया. As a solution, created bigger problem. Because the material energy nature is so powerful, it can resist the unauthorized plan of the atheist and baffle the knowledge of planning commission. So there are so many planning commissions of so many nations, United Nations also. But Maya can baffle their plans like anything. They may plan something, kuch ulta hi ho sakta hai, right? The atheistic plan makers are described herein by the word dushkritina, or miscreants. Kriti means one who has performed meritorious work. The atheist plan makers is sometimes very intelligent and meritorious also, because any gigantic plan, good or bad, must take intelligence to execute. But because the atheistic brain is improperly utilized in opposing the plan of the Supreme Lord, the atheistic plan maker is called dushkriti, which indicates that his intelligence and efforts are misdirected. Right? So some examples of, very intelligent, sharp brains, but used in a wrong way. Right? So digging oil from the sea, अब बोले oil तो बहुत जरूरी है, right? But because of this, what has happened is everything that we use practically right now is made of petrochemicals, right? Plastic, etc. Everything. So every single item has that, and it's poisonous for humans, right? It's also destroying the nature, destroying the aquatic life completely, right? कितने सारे oil spills होते हैं, and you're literally puncturing the earth. Even for gas right now, people are fracking. So many things like that are going on, where we are trying to just exploit the material nature, Mother Earth. Because of which so many problems are there. More problems are yet to come. Right? हमने बहुत थोड़ा देखा है अब तक. More problems are on its way. Stay tuned. So this is called utilizing intelligence in a wrong way. Even, I can give you a very simple example. We used to go to Andheri station east mein, I remember they had started constructing the metro. Okay. Metro is very, very, convenient as such, but the amount of bridges they've built, the amount of roads they've dug up, it's literally blocked sunlight for so many buildings, so many people in town. Sunlight in milta, right? Okay. In the Gita, it is clearly mentioned that material energy works fully under the direction of Supreme Lord. It has no independent authority. It works as a shadow moves in accordance with the movement of the object. But still, material energy is very, very powerful, and the atheist, due to his godless temperament, cannot know how it works, nor he can know the plan of the Supreme Lord. Under illusion and modes of passion and ignorance, all his plans are baffled, and as is in the case of Hiranyakashipu and Ravana, whose plans were smashed to dust, although they were both materially learned as scientists, philosophers, administrators, and educators. These dushkritinas or miscreants are of 4 different patterns as outlined below. So we'll discuss the 4 patterns. It's quite a long purport. We'll probably cover half of it today. So the example of Ravana is given. He also wanted to build a staircase to heaven, right? And so many other different plans he had. Yes, you don't know about this? He wanted to build a staircase to heaven. And he actually captured heaven. So it is described, I was reading how, sabko servant bana ke rakha tha. So the wind god used to, he would raise his eyebrows and the wind god would provide air to him. And he would look very strongly with big eyes to Varuna. Varuna would come, offer the jewels from the ocean, pearls and this and that. So it was like, so there's a lot of description like that. But then he was cursed. He was cursed, that if he touches, because of his misbehavior with, some of the denizens of heaven, he was cursed by one of the apsaras only, that if he tries to forcibly touch any woman, he'll die immediately. So, and then he captured Sita Mata. He could not do anything because of the curse also. And, everyone told him, return. He did not listen, and ultimately he got killed. Okay, so I'll try and read this from here so that we can summarize it.
You can see politicians are intelligent.
Yeah.
Exploitation.
So Moodas, COVID racket.
Yeah, it was said that it's a biological
warfare.
Yeah.
Released by China. Yeah, who knows?
But actually, it might be whatever it is, but like everybody should ban China products now.
Some Chinese devotees might not like it. Anyways, controversial topics, we'll keep it aside. Anyways. So here, there's a detailed description of, the 4 categories. 4 categories, like we discussed, are mudhas, Naradhamas, Mudas are grossly foolish. Naradhamas are lowest among mankind. Maya Aparita Jnana, those whose intelligence have been stolen by Maya, and Asuras, or the atheist. Like that. So Mudas are grossly foolish, like hard-working beasts of burden. So a good example is a donkey. They want to enjoy the fruits of their labor by themselves, and so they do not want to part with them for the supreme. This typical example of beast of burden is the ass. The humble beast is made to work very hard by his master. The ass does not really know for whom he works so hard day and night. He remains satisfied by filling his stomach with a bundle of grass, sleeping for a while under the fear of being beaten by his master.
You give that example also.
Yes, yes. And satisfying his sex appetite at the risk of being repeatedly kicked by the opposite party. Right? So the ass goes behind the she-ass and the female kicks him on the face again and again. Still goes. Right? The ass the ass sings poetry and philosophy sometimes, but this bragging sound only disturbs others, right? So this ass kind of mentality, people may write amazing songs, etc., or poetry, but this is actually only disturbance, right? गधा आवाज करता है, poetry गाने का try करेगा, क्या आवाज आएगा? This is the position of the foolish, fruitive workers who do not know for whom he should work. He does not know that the karma action is meant for yajna, sacrifice. जो अपना पूरा जीवन निकाल देते खाली काम करने में, because work is worship according to them, these are the asses. Right? They have no, even if somebody says, come to temple, or there's something beyond your work also, there's a supreme personality of Godhead, etc., they won't understand. Most often, those who work very hard day and night to clear the burden of self-created duties says that they have no time to hear of immortality of the living beings. अरे मेरे पास बहुत काम है, अरे घर का कौन ख्याल रखेगा, इसका कौन ख्याल रखेगा, etc., etc. So good example comes. So there was this guy who was jailed. Right? जेल में क्या काम करते सब लोग? चक्की पीसना और पत्थर तोड़ना. Right? So such a hard labor, right? जो एकदम ऐसे हार्डकोर क्रिमिनल्स रहते हैं, उनको भेज देते पत्थर तोड़ो जाकर के. क्यों तोड़ रहे हैं उनको भी नहीं पता है. पत्थर तोड़ रहे हैं. कुछ और काम नहीं, तो उनको ऐसा पूरा एनर्जी उसमें वेस्ट करा रहे हो पत्थर तोड़ने में. So somebody else says कि अरे one little intelligent person, fellow who's inside, he says, I am actually, मैंने यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा नीचे से सुरंग खोदा है, ये can get out, so help me so that we immediately थोड़ा 1-2 हफ्ते में ये पूरा खुद जाएगा, we'll be out of the jail. अरे I don't have time यार, इतना पत्थर तोड़ना कौन तोड़ेगा? इतना सारा पत्थर तोड़ना है, कैसे छोड़ सकते हैं? This is the ass. Right? So most often working very hard, right? And they don't have time for hearing about the immortality. To such mudas, material gain, which is destructible, are life's all in all. Right? Their life goal is these things. Despite the fact that the mudas enjoy only a very small fraction of the fruit of labor. इतना मेहनत करने के बाद रोज जेल का रोटी देंगे, खाओ भाई. Right? वो थोड़ा सीनियर लेवल के. Right? Sometimes they spend sleepless days and nights for fruitive gain, and although they may have ulcers or indigestion, they are satisfied with practically no food. They're simply absorbed in working hard day and night for the benefit of illusory masters.
एक ही तो सब्जी, क्योंकि 11 बजे इतना फोन आता है ना.
Okay. Yes. Unfortunately, they never surrender to the supreme master of all masters, nor do they take time to hear of him from proper sources. The swine who eats the night soil do not care to accept sweetmeats made of sugar and ghee. Similarly, the foolish workers who untiringly continue to hear of sense-enjoyable tidings of flickering mundane world, but will have very little time to hear about the eternal living force that moves the material world. Right? Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj used to give this example. Right? If you give rasgullas to pigs, वो ऐसा नाक बंद करके जाएंगे क्या है खीर दे दो, right? Nice freshly made kheer with camphor, they'll pinch their nose and run away. If you give stool, they'll jump and run away. Heaven, they'll jump into it. So this is the difference. And Indra once actually was cursed and he became a pig. And he did not want to return. Brahmaji came to take him. Bhai, aa jao, tumhara post sambhalo. Bola, "Arey, ye mere beewi bachcho ka kya hoga? What about the piglets and the sheep pig, etc." Right? He was not willing to go. Right? So this is the kind of illusion we are also living in. Right? Somebody may think, "Arey, itna maja aata hai," right? 4 regulative principles of freedom we say. बोलेगा काय का freedom? Right? सब कुछ restrict कर दिया, मैं जीऊं किस चीज के लिए? Because life means these 4 things for them. Right? According to them, this is the only pleasure in the world, and they cannot imagine how someone can give these things up. How can someone give up meat eating? Right? It's like the pig. How can I give up stool? Kaise chodu? Right? So they will find, the sweetness of, hearing of the topics of the Supreme Personality of God distasteful. Another class of Duskriti or miscreants is called Naradhama, the lowest of mankind. Nara means human beings and Adhama means lowest. Out of 84 lakhs different species of living beings, there are 400,000 human species. 4 lakh प्रकार के human beings है. सुना था पहले? कौन से 4 लाख प्रकार है? 4 प्रकार कौन से वो बता दो. Right? So in the entire universe there are different human species and they are distinguished basis different levels of consciousness. Right? Like Bhagavatam also describes Purata, Huninda, Yavana, different types of people, right? Based on their level of consciousness. Some people who are, like even Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, this classification based on their consciousness, their activities, their nature, right? So even beyond that, there are different classifications. And then there are demigods also who are part of the human species. Like that. So in the entire universe, there are 4 lakh different kinds of human species. Out of these, there are numerous lower forms of human life that are mostly uncivilized. You will also have humans in the jungles of Africa, right? वो जो भी हिलता होगा उसको तीर मार देंगे. उसको समझ नहीं आता. इधर खाना जा रहा है मार दो. Right? That is the level of consciousness.
They actually do that. Like when you go in Africa, they'll also not even leave your window, the car windows down, because they won't see. They just see some jewel, they'll pull it out. Like moving car, they'll just pull it out.
Yeah, there are kids in Africa with machine guns. कहाँ पे भी कुछ दिखा. Blood Diamond is an entire movie on that, right? So small kids, 10 साल के, 12 साल के, they won't even think twice to kill you. Won't even think twice to kill you, right? They'll you agree? एक इधर उधर थोड़ा सा भी उन्होंने खाली छींक भी मार दिया कि नहीं. Shoot, take everything, go away, like that. So different levels of consciousness.
I think because of their poverty situation.
Huh?
Because of their poverty situation, they're not.
It's not just poverty. It's not just poverty. There are, and I think I heard from someone that the movie Blood Diamond, I've not seen it, but it depicts, right, that these small boys, they're actually playing with those diamonds. Blood Diamond basically is a movie based on, extracting diamonds from the mines. And they're ready to kill anyone and everyone for that. So they're literally, a catch killer diamond ke saath, bade diamonds ke saath. So it's not poverty. It's just the, maniac thrill, right, which they get out of, killing someone. So another, again, a story is coming to head. This pastime of Lord Narasimhadev. So there were devotees who were actually passing through the Amazon forest. The devotees are very, very daring and adventurous. So this group of devotees, they had taken a van and they were like, yes, let's distribute, the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu everywhere, right? So they were literally going through different places and they were passing through the Amazon forest. Now, suddenly what happened, some of this kind of group, they attacked, right? And they were like literally captured and unka lunch hone wale the wo sare log, right? So, sabko bandh diya, and the devotees saw that we're finished, right? Now there is no escape. So they loudly started chanting Narasimha Arti, right? Namaste Narasimha, they loudly started chanting. And then suddenly, they heard a lion roar. And normally these people are well equipped to even kill a lion very easily. But, this roar was like 10 times or 100 times than a regular lion's roar. All of them fled. All of them fled. And the devotees then untied themselves and went in the van. Anyways, so those who are socially and politically developed but who have no religious principles must be considered Naradhama. So there are lowest of the mankind, not just in this kind of consciousness, but even people who are living normal lives. They have a good social setting and political setting, but they are having no taste or no inclination to hear the message of the Supreme Personality of God. They are also considered as lowest amongst mankind. Opportunity hone ke baad bhi, right? They are not willing. Yes, Manji.
What if that person in the is doing something for the betterment of the society?
One can follow Varnashram, millions of lifetimes. Bhagavatam says, Shrava eva hi kevalam. It is useless labor. Right? Why it is useless labor? Because, like I gave the example of the sewing machine, the purpose is to stitch a cloth. So this human form of life is meant for self-realization. It's meant for, understanding who we are, who's God, what is our relationship, and what I am supposed to do in that relationship. If that point is missed, you can have millions of lifetimes doing nice Varnashram Dharma. It is Shrama eva hi kevalam. It's useless labor. Yeah. Yeah, he was arguing we are not independent nation, etc. Right? First, we have to gain independence. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj said, for millions, for so many hundreds and thousands of years, one government comes, the other changes. Britishers ke pehle Mughals the, uske pehle koi aur the, right? So this Krishna consciousness cannot wait for, a favorable political condition. And this is the real revolution. If you can change, bring revolution, and literally, during that time where Indians, as a hotel ke bahar likha jata tha, dogs and Indians are not allowed. Just imagine the condition of or how the Indians were looked upon. During such a time, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj ke bolne par, the Britishers will build roads. Unko welcome karne ke liye, right? It was not a small thing. Bhaktivinoda Thakur ke ghar tak railway track lagaya gaya, just so that he can, it becomes easier for him to come from his house to the court. So these are the kind of personalities, right? And we can see in their own lives, right? When they are Krishna consciousness, they are not dependent on the external circumstance of political liberation, right? They are already liberated, right? And even the Britishers could see that. So, nor is religion without God religion. Because the purpose of following religious principle is to know the Supreme and man's relationship with him. In Gita, the personality of Godhead clearly states that there is no authority above him and he is the supreme truth. The civilized form of human life is meant for man's reviving the lost consciousness of his eternal relation with the supreme truth. The personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who is all powerful. Whoever loses this chance is classified as Naradhamam. Right? Chance mila, nahi liya, Naradhamam. We get information from revealed scriptures that when the baby is in the mother's womb, an extremely uncomfortable situation, he prays to God for deliverance and promises to worship him alone as soon as he gets out. To pray to God when he is in difficulty is natural instinct in every living being, because he is eternally related with God. But after his deliverance, the child forgets the difficulties of birth and forgets his deliverer also, being influenced by Maya, the illusory energy. Quite a big one. Okay, so we also have to discuss about a little bit, not much, but we'll discuss a little bit about, the Kartik month, which is very, very auspicious. So I'll stop here. We'll probably continue next time from is a duty of guardians and children. Oh, actually, it's not that big. Sorry. It's about to come to an end. Okay, can we take 5 minutes to finish this, if everyone's okay? Okay. It is a duty of guardians of children to revive the divine consciousness dormant in them. The 10 processes of reformatory ceremonies are enjoined in Manusmriti, which is the guide to the religious principles, are meant for reviving God consciousness in the system of Varnashram. However, no process is strictly followed now in any part of the world. Therefore, 99.9% of the population is Naradhama. So majority of the population is Naradhama because in the womb, the child is in a very, very terrible condition. Imagine yourself hanging in a sack, upside down. अभी आपको बंद कर दे गुनी में, उल्टा लटका दे, टांग दे कहीं पे पेड़ पे, right? और अंदर एक ऐसा पाइप डाल दे जिसमें से सारा ब्लड जा रहा है, urine, stool, pus, some insects, right? All of that is let inside, and there is very little space. आप अपना हाथ भी हिला नहीं सकते, अगर कुछ काट रहा है नीचे तो आप स्क्रैच भी नहीं कर सकते हो, और ऐसा आपको 1 दिन नहीं, 2 दिन नहीं, 9 महीने वहां पे रखेंगे, right? So that is a terrible condition the child goes through. It's very, very painful, and the child faints multiple times because of the unbearable, he cannot bear that. So, and he prays. The fortunate ones pray to Krishna or the Supreme Person, please get me out of this condition. And those who are extremely fortunate, the Lord appears to them and says, okay, don't worry, you'll come out soon, like that. And when they come out, they forget. A very comfortable, nice, cotton water में ऐसे लिपटा करके, right? They'll be taken care of. Everyone will be, trying to make them smile and all of that. Pampering is going on. The child forgets. So it's a duty of the parents to remind, what they're supposed to do. And in fact, our scriptures, there are so many processes, right? Samskaras hote hain. So sare samskars are meant for us to remember, or they are there to remind us that, this body is temporary. The absolute personality of Godhead is your well-wisher and most dear friend. You need to connect to him. Like that. Yes, you were saying something? Who's saying? Yeah.
Asking that the child is like in bed or suffering situation, at that time the child's consciousness level is very low.
Correct.
So at that time also he feels so much pain.
Yes. Consciousness level is not low. It's normal, right? It's not that there's no pain sensation. There is. Completely, absolutely, it's there, right?
The first few months, the body is not even formed.
Yes, but at least when the body is formed, there is full consciousness. It's not just the last month. The eyes, the hands, etc. They are formed quite before. I think first 6 months itself, right?
Actually, when the child comes, the child is fine.
It's crying. Smiles to both over it. It's crying.
Actually, sometimes they do actually when they see, they said that they see God, that's the reason they smile.
No, sometimes it's just out of relief. बाहर आ गया. उनको निला देता तो फिर खुश हो जाएगा ना, of course. You may know there are so many rashes on the body sometimes, right? Because if the mother is not intelligent, she's eating all spicy food and everything. Every single thing is like a acid on top of the skin.
Also, when the child, like when the fetus is in the stomach, then that time, like they are able to connect with Krishna and they remember everything. They remember their previous past, like words also.
The very fortunate ones, not everyone.
No.
Not everyone.
No.
Not
Okay,
everyone.
but then, like, if they can, then they actually decide that, once after I come out, I'm going to like pray to Krishna or this, that, like.
There's a bhajan there.
Yeah, they keep that in their head, but then, like, as soon as they come out and they are like in contact with the material world, then they forget everything.
जैसा हमारे साथ होता है ना, यहाँ पे मंदिर आते हैं, अरे हम तो चैंट करेंगे 16 माला कल से करेंगे, जैसे बाहर निकले, ओह अच्छा इन्फिनिटी मॉल चंदन सिनेमा, चलो मूवी देख के आते right? So as soon as we are out of the four walls of Radharaj Vihari, right, our mind is swayed by 10,000 things. That is still legitimate, legal enjoyment, not illegal yet. Okay. Go on.
When they sleep,
Ah.
sometimes they smile, their facial expressions gets changed every time.
Yes.
Especially when they sleep. So
Why facial expressions changes?
So why do they smile suddenly? Yeah.
It's the childhood.
नहीं, हर एक चाइल्ड की दिमाग में मैं घुस नहीं सकता, तो मुझे नहीं पता, right? But
The past life, they are
no. So typical or a general answer I can give is, because right now from such a terrible condition, immediately there is relief and they're put into a very nice condition. So obviously they'll have a sense of relief, they'll rest nicely, they'll sleep nicely, they'll smile also very nicely. You're trying to make the child smile, so obviously he'll smile, right? So
Or like the child is out, then they like being like wrapped as they move.
Yeah.
And so like you're giving them enough space, but still they won't be wrapped like.
okay, so when sorry, you want to say
It's so merciful that
Ah.
each and every person sitting over here, we don't remember the pain of it. Anybody cannot tell me that, I remember what was the pain in the book because you did.
So Krishna says, I'm the person responsible for memory and forgetfulness. When the whole population becomes Naradhama, naturally all their so-called education is made null and void, and all-powerful energy of physical by the all-powerful energy of physical nature. According to the standard of Gita, a learned man is he who sees all the soul inside. Sri Nityanand Prabhu, who is the incarnation of Godhead as Divine Master, delivered the typical Naradhamas, the brothers Jagai and Madhai, and showed how the mercy of real devotees bestowed upon the lowest of mankind. So the Naradhama, who is condemned by the personality of Godhead, can again revive his spiritual consciousness only by the mercy of a devotee. So devotees, they go out of their way, like Srila Prabhupada, he actually created the good fortune for all the people in the West and, gave them his mercy and made them devotees. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in propagating the Bhagavad Dharma or activities of devotees, has recommended that people submissively hear the message of personality of Godhead. The essence of this message is Bhagavad Gita. The lowest among human beings can be delivered by this submissive hearing process only. But unfortunately, they even refuse to give an oral reception to these messages. And what to speak of surrendering to the will of the Supreme Lord. Naradhamas, or the lowest of mankind, willfully neglect the prime duty of human beings. So the only way the Naradhamas can be delivered is through the process of hearing.
No, they knock in the lead. I mean, like, what the hell?
The guy in Madai student, the three Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Yes.
Who used to sing the song of Bhagavad song.
Yes.
These two people follow him.
Because of lack of time, we are not discussing now. We can discuss the story during Prasadam. Okay. So, the next class, very little remaining. The next class of Dushkrita is called Maya Aparita Jnana, or those persons whose erudite knowledge has been nullified by the influence of illusory material energy. They are mostly very learned fellows, great philosophers, poets, literati, scientists, etc. But the illusory energy misguides them, and therefore they disobey the Supreme Lord. There are great numbers of Maya Aparita Jnana at present moment, even amongst the scholars of Bhagavad Gita. There will be people who will be knowing Bhagavad Gita back to front. सारे श्लोक quote कर लेंगे आप. फिर बोलेंगे, oh, you must surrender to Krishna within, right? Or you should surrender. पांडवस नहीं थे, वो हमारे 5 इंद्रियां हैं. There were no Pandavas actually, right? वो हमारे actually 5 senses है. Kurukshetra is not real place. Kurukshetra is just this body. So they'll have their own philosophy. They will remove Krishna out of Bhagavad Gita, right? In Gita, in plain and simple language, it is stated that Sri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no one equal to or greater than him. He is mentioned as the father of Brahma, the original father of all human beings. In fact, Sri Krishna is said to be the only father of Brahma, not only father of Brahma, but father of all species. He is the root of all in-person Brahman, Paramatma, and the super soul in every entity is his plenary portion. He is the fountainhead of everything, and everyone is advised to surrender unto his lotus feet. Despite all these clear statements, the Maya Apirita Jnana deride the personality of Godhead, Supreme Personality of Godhead, and consider him merely another human being. They do not know that that the blessed form of human life is designed after the eternal and transcendental feature of the Supreme Lord. So Bhagwan जब आते हैं तो उनको लगता है कि अरे ये तो इंसान है, देखो इनको भी तीर मार दिया, इनको भी लग गया, वो भी मर गए, राइट? वो भी इंसान ही थे, कोई भगवान नहीं थे, राइट? So these are the Maya Apirita Jnana. Their knowledge or intelligence has been stolen away by illusion. All the unauthorized interpretations of Gita by the class of Maya Apirita Jnana outside the purview of Parampara system are many stumbling blocks on the path of spiritual understanding. The deluded interpreters do not surrender to the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, nor do they teach others to follow the principles. So there was this one guy, I'm sorry, I'm going to take 2 more minutes. There was this one guy, this was in, I think, somewhere in US. So this person, he was such a scholar. And he was in literature, he was like PhD kiya hua tha. And his life's work, he wanted to write a thesis on Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this guy used to drink, smoke, everything else, right? And he wanted to write as his life's great work, thesis on Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, it had been almost 12, 13 years and he could not write a lot. I was saying hardly kuch pages likhe honge, and he was still doing his research and so many other things. And in 1970s, he got to learn Srila Prabhupada has come. He met Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada actually printed the entire set of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita in a matter of maybe 1 year, I guess, marathon, right? And he was completely like, कि क्या ये मैं 12 साल 13 साल से लिखने का कोशिश कर रहा हूँ, एक चैप्टर नहीं लिख पाया हूँ. And Srila Prabhupada has written the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita completely, right, in a matter of a year or a year and a half. So these are Maya Apirita Jnana, right? They cannot understand Chaitanya Mahaprabhu till the time they actually have some acharan, or they are actually understanding what is the crux of the personality of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yeah. Can I finish the last 2 passages and then you can ask the questions? Yeah. So the last class of Dushkritana is called as Asuram Bhava, or the demoniac principle, or those of demonic principles. This class is openly atheistic. Some of them argue that Supreme Lord can never descend upon the material world, but they are unable to give any tangible reason as to why not. There are others who make him subordinate to the impersonal feature. Maya badi hai Bhagwan se bhi. Although opposite is declared in Gita. Envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the atheist will present a number of illicit incarnations manufactured in factory of his brain. Such persons, whose very principle of life is to decry the personality of Godhead, cannot surrender unto the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. So either these people will say there is no God, or another way of saying there is no God is, oh yes, there is God, but he doesn't have a hand, he doesn't have eyes, he doesn't have ears, he has no personality. Matlab kya hai nahi? Right? So either you say there is no God, or you say there is God, but he's formless. Right? So it's the same thing. It's practically saying the same thing. Shri Yamunacharya Alabandaru of South India said, "Oh my Lord, you are unknowable to persons involved with atheistic principles. Despite your uncommon qualities, features, and activities, despite your personalities being confirmed by all revealed scriptures in quality of goodness, and despite your being acknowledged by most famous authorities renowned for their depth of knowledge in transcendental science and situated in godly qualities, despite all of these things, there are still people wo shastra ke base pe bolenge ki are, as above mentioned, never surrender to the lotus feet of the personality of God in spite of all scriptural authoritative advice." Yes, Mataji. Huh.
To keep the pace of 10 to 12 years, there must be some good changes in this.
There was none. That's the point. So, they're writing basis their scholarship. It's like, how Britishers, they, interpreted Vedas, right? I Sanskrit सीख लिया, लिखना चालू कर दिया. उनको they don't get into the subject matter. They're not subject matter experts. They might become experts in Sanskrit, but they've not become experts in the subject matter itself. Right? So this guy, with his own speculation, was trying to write thesis on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? Without understanding who was the personality of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? So कहाँ से change आएगा? Sukriti mila definitely usko, because at least once he would have taken the name of Lord Gauranga or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sukriti mila definitely, but कुछ tangible change नहीं है, because he's not doing it with an attitude of service. He's not doing it with an attitude कि हाँ, I want to understand and I want to learn and I want to apply things in my life. Right? वो अपना scholarly चीज दिखाने के लिए, अरे मैं तो बहुत smart हूँ, मैं तो सारी thesis लिख दूंगा.
Because of Acharya, they are giving lectures. Like they are giving, one is in the jail.
Yeah. So people may quote Bhagavad Gita, they may give Bhagavad Sapta, right? But what is in the heart? That is important, right? If the thing in the heart is money, अरे मेरे को 10 लाख रुपए मिलेगा, भागवत सप्ताह करता हूँ जाकर के. He can give you money consciousness. He cannot give you Krishna consciousness, right? There are, one last statement. So there are people who may even cry in such assemblies. हजारों लोग रहेंगे और वो उधर रो रहे, अरे क्या कथा पता है. They may be great orators, fantastic speakers, but they will not bring about any change in the heart. You may feel very nice, अरे वाह क्या था, but अंदर कुछ change नहीं हुआ. Not even a single bad habit has converted into something positive. Yes, Manji.
Yeah, there's some who has like a house next to Amitabh Bachchan.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's allowed to have a house. It's okay. Yes.
So, like I mean, like if you're just
10 lakh rupees into 7 days into 365 days, you can.
wrong. I mean, like it's supposed to be renounced, but like it's not.
ठीक. So Srimad Bhagavatam, when Sukdev Goswami was about to speak to Parikshit Maharaj, the demigods came with Amrit. बोले अमृत ले लो, परीक्षित को पिला लो, हमको भागवतम सुनाओ, चलो स्वर्ग में. So Sukdev Goswami instantly rejected. बोला तुम चुपचाप आके बैठ जाते, सुन लेते थे. तुमको ऐसा होशियारी दिखाना था, अमृत लेके आए एक्सचेंज करने के लिए, right? अमृत cannot be, Bhagavatam cannot be compared to this, tuch Amrit tumhara. Go back. You're not fit to hear Bhagavatam. Go back. Like that. So it cannot be, used as a commercial thing.
That is, then again, you consciousness and self-awareness.